After a few months of testing, I'm finally able to answer the question, which one is better between the FlyKnit Ultra and the Phantom Ultra? Both of these boots have been ultra limited edition, made from the same technology from the upper, combined with some of the most iconic boots of Nike's past. For some, these boots were just an attempt to build hype for the Nike brand, and for others, this was an attempt from Nike to create the enthusiast boot that we were all looking for. Which one wins out? Let's find out. All right, so starting with an overview of both of the boots. The first is the FlyKnit Ultra, which is based on the Vapor 11, one of the most iconic Vapors of all time. Now, this boot has Nike's Ultra Weave, which I'm calling this Ultra Knit technology here in the upper, same as the Ultra Venom. It's a full FlyKnit upper with a more condensed weave and coated yarns prior to weaving. Vapor 11 sole plate with a unique tooling meant to wrap the bottom of the foot as well, a bit more. So this is an excellent pair of football boots based on Vapor 11, really tight sensation, really tight fitting football boot, and just an icon in the Nike lineup. Next, we go to the Phantom Ultra, which is based on two boots, the Phantom GT and the Hypervenom Phantom 3. You've got aspects of both of those boots in this upper, but it is the same Ultra FlyKnit technology that is in the FlyKnit Ultra for the upper. A little bit of a different construction here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And it's a fully FlyKnit upper with that more condensed weave and the coated yarns, especially in these pod areas as well. Tooling from the Hypervenom 3 is absolutely iconic. It's one of the best toolings ever to be produced on a pair of football boots, in my opinion. And of course, those Hypervenom 3 pods across the upper with the fit and shape that's a little bit more similar to the Phantom GT line. Before we hop into the comparison points, let me know down in the comments below which one you would pick between the FlyKnit Ultra and the Phantom Ultra. So let's start with the upper. So the upper between these two is exactly the same construction. It's the majority of the difference you'll feel in the upper comes from the differences in grip texture, which mimic the two older boots each of these is based on. So in the case of the FlyKnit Ultra, it's based on the Vapor 11 speed ribs, and then on the Phantom Ultra, it's based on these pods that were meant to be that would harden when you shoot the ball to make it a little bit more easy to get bounce back when you did any sort of passing or shooting movements. However hard the ball touched these pods, they would harden up on the Hypervenom Phantom 3. So that's what this is based on as well. But for the majority, these boots are actually the same construction with the central lacing system on both, and really a nice fit on either. Both uppers are fantastic. So whether you prefer the speed rib texturing from the Vapor 11 or the pressure firming pods from the Hypervenom Phantom 3 seen here on the Phantom Ultra, both designs give you the same amount of grip on each of their Ultra upgrades, so it's really about personal preference on which one you like better. So at the end of the day, it really is a personal preference. I think the upper material is absolutely exceptional. It feels about the same if you were to have the same shape of boot, even with the different patterns, it would be basically the same. So I'm gonna give that category an equal score on both of these. Both of these uppers are exceptional, and a comparison between the two, I think they are absolutely equal on that part. So brilliant, brilliant uppers. Both of them are exceptional, soft, super moldable, super pliable, and ready to wear pretty much straight out of the box. Okay, so the heel area is where I really see people voicing their opinions. This from the Ultra Venom is much more similar to the GT series, which I think caused a lot of issues. They've changed a lot of it for this particular model, this upgraded model, if you will, and so it really fixed a lot of the blister and slippage issues that we saw in the GT2, but it isn't Vapor 11 good. And although this isn't the exact heel liner that was in the Vapor 11, this definitely provides more lockdown straight out of the box. So if you look at the two, you can really see the shape difference in those heel areas, which I think is notable. And especially on this one, the FlyKnit Ultra, it's noticeably tighter and gives you a more locked in sensation than the Phantom Ultra here on this side. And the Phantom Ultra follows that GT2 heel, like I said before, and is a bit more than the Hypervenom 3 heel area, which in this case isn't bad at all, but it does feel as secure, doesn't feel as secure as the FlyKnit Ultra heel. So in this category, the FlyKnit Ultra wins out on the heel area, definitely a more secure locked in fit. That being said, if you do have a much wider fitting heel area, which some people do, definitely go with the Phantom Ultra. Now let's talk about sole plates. So as you can see from my testing, the chrome plating has basically fallen off of both of them. This one completely, and then this one, it's almost completely fallen off just in the area where the chrome plating doesn't touch the ground that much. That's the only place where you still get some of that beautiful gold plating, but for the most part, gold plating's fallen off. But that's not what we're here about. We're here about the sole plate. Both of these sole plates are absolutely excellent. They are some of the best that Nike has produced, I think, in its history. They're absolutely amazing. So if you look between the two, you've got on this side with the FlyKnit Ultra, you've got all chevron studs. You've got 4 in the back and 7 in the forefoot on this yellow one. And then on this orange side, you've got some conical studs on the instep here, and then you've got some of the bladed studs on the outside. So both are exceptional sole plates. You can also, hopefully, actually we'll go this way. So actually you can see how much wider this Hypervenom Phantom 3 sole plate is, the orange one, versus the Vapor 11 sole plate on the yellow side. And as far as sole plate goes, again, Vapor 11 introduced this sole plate, which makes your foot sink in a way that we'd never seen before. So basically, hopefully the camera can pick that up. There's some really interesting divots, so where your foot really sinks into this sole plate here, which is kind of an interesting feature. And it really is super, super popular and fantastic from that standpoint. And the Hypervenom Phantom 3 sole plate is considered to be one, if not the best all-around sole plates ever produced. I would argue that although the technology of the FlyKnit Ultra sole plate is more advanced, the Phantom Ultra sole plate takes the win because it will fit every single foot type and is suitable for AG, FG, and some SG pitches, which with the combination of the conical studs on the instep and the chevron studs on the outside. So for me, although this one is a little bit higher tech, I would say that the Hypervenom Phantom 3 sole plate, from an all-around perspective, wide-footed players and thinner-footed players, everyone's gonna fit on this sole plate and not have any issues with spillover. I think this one wins out for me over the Vapor 11 sole plate. Next, we're gonna talk a lockdown between these two excellent football boots. Now, by nature, the Vapor 11 just in general fit a lot tighter than the Hypervenom 3 and the Phantom GT2. So based on that shape alone, this boot is gonna fit a lot tighter than this boot on this side. So the FlyKnit Ultra, for me, in the lockdown sense, wins just because of the shape of the boot. As you can see, it is a super, super narrow fitting football boot. You can especially see that from the sole plate. It is a very thin and tight fit, super, super low profile. And because of this upgraded model from the Vapor 11, the shape didn't really change all that much compared to the Phantom Ultra. And so if you put the Phantom Ultra side by side, you can really see the differences in width. So that difference in width is super clear, especially in that midfoot area. And so I think for me, the lockdown, of course, is gonna be a little bit better on the tighter fitting football boot. And I do think that these speed ribs along the upper really do provide a good amount of lockdown and kind of make your foot feel like it's super locked into that sole plate, which is the whole point of this football boot. So for me, out of the lockdown of these two, if you're a player who fits in both boots, I would definitely recommend this. If you're looking for a lockdown, FlyKnit Ultra wins in this category. All right, so next we're gonna talk about ball feel. Now, ball feel is a really subjective category. It's gonna depend a lot on what you're looking for in a football boot. The good thing about this comparison and this video in general is that a lot of these categories are gonna be very similar because the upper construction and the weave is the exact same on both boots. It's a very, very similar upper, and the only thing you're really gonna notice a difference in is the grip elements. So let's talk about those grip elements really quick. So as far as the FlyKnit Ultra goes, this again is from the Vapor 11. So you've got speed ribs on the upper, and in this FlyKnit Ultra, you've got coated elements of this weave, so coated yarns that are coated in the I don't know if it's ACC or whatever their silicone coating is, and then it's woven together, which is a really unique sensation. You've got the same thing on this Phantom Ultra, which accomplishes the same thing, right? So in these pod areas, you've got that same technology. So from the standpoint of which one actually feels better from a grip standpoint, they're actually very similar between the two boots, which is an interesting sensation. It's just the pattern that's going to be a little bit different. And so I don't believe anyone will really notice that much of a difference, although the FlyKnit Ultra feels slightly more barefoot sensation, and that comes down to just the way that if you can see how thin these speed ribs are, and what I mean by thin is not like this thin, but they don't come off the upper very much. It's really like there's not very much raised material. So let me put my palm behind that upper part. You can see it doesn't really raise off the upper that much here where my thumb is. Whereas if you look at this Phantom Ultra, you can really see the raised elements of this football boot. So you can really see where those little bubbles come off the upper. So from that standpoint, I think the FlyKnit Ultra has slightly a more barefoot sensation. I mean, we're talking like most people won't even notice, but because I've actually worn both of these boots for over like several months now, in training sessions, in 11v11 games and all that stuff, it really comes down to personal preference in my opinion. For ball feel, I'm going with this one because I like a slightly more padded sensation, especially given how barefoot this feels like a second sock anyway. But if you are looking for that slightly more barefoot feel, including the fact that it's a much more tight fit around your foot, go with the FlyKnit Ultra. So for me, it's kind of a tie in this. Both have incredible ball feel, and most people aren't gonna notice the difference between the two. Now we're gonna talk about durability. So as you can see just from these boots, I've really beaten the hell out of these boots, and both boots, given the density and the durability of the way that these uppers are constructed with a little bit more dense weave, these truly both get top marks. I have as I mentioned before, the sole plates, but I've absolutely beat the heck out of these Phantom Ultras. They are absolutely, focus for me, thank you. I have absolutely beaten them. You can see scuff marks here on the upper. The sole plate, it's got chip marks on it already. This I think is just turf that's stuck to the bottom. The chrome sole plate or the chrome plating has completely fallen off at this point, and now you're just in scuff mark territory. So in some of these, especially in this area where I strike the ball a lot, these little pods have kind of lost their all black color and have sort of gone a little bit more gray scale, which is fair enough, I suppose. So it really is, that one has been excellent. And as far as the FlyKnit Ultra, also a very, you see that same discoloring here on the upper. Obviously the sole plate that has lost most of its chrome, except for that instep where I don't touch the ground very often. But for the most part, every part of these boots is incredibly well made, and I truly think this is an even keeled, it's going to be totally even on the durability perspective. These are excellently made football boots, and the fact that I was actually pretty impressed that even though these were made back in 2017, they hold up just perfectly as well as these ones that were made this year in 2022. So it really doesn't matter which ones you go for from a durability perspective. Both are going to be excellent straight out of the box, and then over the course of many months of intensive play on both SG and firm ground pitches. Soft ground probably won't affect the durability that much, but again, I've gotten both of these boots wet. They've been in rain, they've been in SG, they've been in FG, they've been in AG, and they have had zero issues. So top quality from the Nike brand with these two pairs of football boots. Okay, so now to comfort and sizing, and this is gonna be totally subjective based on what you want in your football boots. So first, let's talk really quickly about, this is where both boots are incredibly comfortable. So both this FlyKnit Ultra and this one, the Phantom Ultra, are gonna be super comfortable out of the box. They both provide excellent lockdown, and they really are some of the best boots ever produced by Nike. As far as sizing is concerned, the FlyKnit Ultra runs exactly true to size. So you can see in some of these B-roll shots, my toe comes right up to the end, and hopefully you saw that in the 1 month review and and in the on-feet portion of the regular review of these boots, FlyKnit Ultra runs completely true to size in my normal size 9 US. They fit really, really well, minus the width is a little bit too thin for me, but I'll get to that in just a second. The Phantom Ultra, on the other hand, runs about 1/8 of a size long, and that is really to no detriment of the sizing. I found zero issues. I mean, we're talking like about that much. If you look at my thumb in the forefoot area here, it is like bare, it's like that much room. So if you want your boots to go all the way up to the end, maybe go with the FlyKnit Ultra. These just fit about 1/8 of a size long, really no reflection of how the boots actually fit once they're broken in. They fit absolutely perfect once the boots are broken in, but it really wasn't a big deal. So if you do prefer a tighter fit, the FlyKnit Ultra might be your go-to. For wider fit, there is really on the market, I genuinely believe this, there is really no other boot better than this boot right here. The Phantom Ultra for wide-footed foot types is, for like medium width to wider feet, is probably the best boot I've ever had on my feet straight out of the box. And that combines performance, durability, all of these factors all put together. This is the god tier football boot for wide-footed foot types. It really, especially with the central lacing system and how soft this this knit upper is, it truly is a fantastic fitting football boot for wide foot types. That being said, if you fit in both, it's really gonna be a matter of what sizing you like and if you should go for a half a size down on these. If you have really thin feet, that might be the move, or just go with the FlyKnit Ultra if that's the one that you are kind of looking for as far as foot shape goes. So as far as I'm concerned, again, both of these boots, you put them side by side, you can see the width differences between. Obviously, this one on this side is a little bit wider through the midfoot and just the shape in general, whereas the FlyKnit Ultra here on this side is a lot thinner, and you really see that when it comes to sole plate as well. So that's something to consider as well. For me, comfort in sizing is going to be very, very subjective. I'm picking this one every day because that's the one that actually fits my foot. And as I mentioned before, because this is based on the Vapor 11 silo and it's based on just the Vapor in general, it's a little bit too thin. You can see where here on the lateral side where my foot has spilt over that sole plate a bunch, and because of that my foot doesn't perfectly fit in this sole plate, which is kind of a bummer. So I don't actually get the full experience of what a lot of people talked about when they said their foot felt like it was almost given a hug around the outside of the sole plate, especially in the FlyKnit Ultra. Because the sole plate was designed for that, the fit and the sizing was perfect for them. For me, as somebody who has a lot wider foot shape, especially here in the midfoot and the toe box area, this boot didn't fit as well as I wanted it to. And so for me, I'm picking the Phantom Ultra every day as far as fit and sizing goes. But again, both go true to size. The Phantom Ultra, 1/8 of a size long, is nothing to write home about. It's really not a big deal, and it hasn't affected performance or my opinion about the boot at all. So that's, as far as comfort and sizing goes, they're pretty much on point with both of them. So overall performance and final ratings for both of these boots, these are some of the best performing, most comfortable football boots that I've ever worn, honestly, in my entire career as a football player, especially as becoming a professional player. These have been some of the top performing boots I've ever worn in my life. The FlyKnit Ultra here in my right hand and then the Phantom Ultra in my left hand, both have been exceptional. I personally am picking Phantom Ultra every day, partially because of the homage to my favorite boot of all time, which is Hypervenom Phantom 3, but also just because of the sizing stuff. It doesn't make sense for me to try to cram my foot in the FlyKnit Ultra for more than, say, a training session every once in a while. So for me, I'm picking this one, but again, both are absolutely top models. If you're somebody who's looking for the absolute best objective performance and you fit in both models, go with the FlyKnit Ultra. It's got slightly more objective performance just because of what the sole, how aggressive the tooling is on the sole plate, and of course how tightly this upper feels. But again, if you fit in both, it's kind of a horse apiece. They're both beautiful. Objective Performer winner, my winner. They're both excellent football boots, and that is it for the comparison of the FlyKnit Ultra versus the Phantom Ultra. This has been such a fun video to make. If you guys want more content like this, if you want me to compare more football boots, let me know down in the comments below. Let me know down in the comments, as I said before, which one would you pick? Which one are you gonna wear on your Saturday or Sunday or midweek game if you're into that stuff? Like the video if you got value from it. As always, guys, be awesome, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.